Hello everybody. Today we're going to take another look at what I would say is my most beloved MtG Magic the Gathering setting, and that is in the plane of Innistrad. For various reasons, also notwithstanding the fact that it was the first plane that I got really invested in. I started buying Innistrad Midnight Hunt, Innistrad Crimson Vow, which are still readily available. They're not necessarily on the cheap side, but they are affordable. Sometimes you can get a whole booster display for under 100 euros. I also got the double feature edition. I got collector boosters for both Innistrad, Crimson Vow and Midnight Hunt, and I am really in love with the artwork. I'm really in love with the setting. When we were in Japan, we also picked up a couple of booster packs for the, if you like, original Innistrad. There is one thing that I would really like to get a booster or two of, and that is Avacyn Restored, but they are so beyond the pale expensive that I'm like, it's not going to happen. However, when we look at the story of Innistrad, and I'm not going to pretend that I know all the ins and outs, but basically what we have is a plane that is infested with or lived in by, on the one hand, factions of different vampire clans, and in the most recent version of Crimson Vow, it's of course Olivia Voldaren, who marries Edgar Markov, or who wants to marry him. And basically that would bring together two very, very powerful clans, and of course Anya Falconwrath, Maid of Dishonor, is of course very unhappy about it. She has her own agenda, but she has been roped into this whole unification of clans under Olivia's reign by being appointed Maid of Honor by Olivia. And of course this is an honor in the truest sense of the word that nobody can refuse. But this is the most recent development in this story of Innistrad. We've also got the Lasting Night that seems to be coming about, and between the first storyline of Innistrad, which basically says vampirism exists. And there is one young man, I mean, he's ageless, but he looks quite young, and his name is Sorin Markov. He's also a planeswalker, plus he's the son of Edgar Markov and a vampire himself. Realizes that if vampires and werewolves are left to reign free on Innistrad, their main prey, mainly humans, will die out very, very quickly. And so he realizes that something needs to be done, and he creates an angel called Avacyn. And he pours a part of his essence into her, and she is given the task to protect mankind. And this is who she is, and this is how she sees herself. I am Avacyn, I am here to protect. And basically she, together with her various choirs of angels, works as a champion for humankind towards a state of equilibrium. And it works. However, then there are some ins and outs of demons, and Liliana Vess is involved, and other people are involved, other planeswalkers are involved. However, during all these struggles, Avacyn is cast into the Hell Vault alongside Griselbrand, a terrible demon lord, and she resides there for some time alongside all of the other demons that have been cast into this Hell Vault. She is then later released alongside Griselbrand. There's also a whole storyline around this, and is restored. So there's this Avacyn Restored storyline coming in. And for a while, and she also makes peace with some factions amongst the werewolves, and they become, if you like, peace-like werewolves and start not killing humans anymore. And then something happens that is called the Madness of Avacyn. So madness takes her and all of the choirs of angels that are closest to her. And they basically start fighting humans. It is later revealed that the reason for this is that Nahiri, a planeswalker, has been setting up cryptoliths. So those are essentially stone structures that appear all around Innistrad. And she is doing this because, and these basically have an aura which is being used to attract Emrakul. Now, Emrakul is one of 3 Eldrazi titans, and some say she is the strongest one of them, or they are the strongest one of them, because it's unclear. Sometimes people refer to her to this Eldrazi titan as she. Probably also because on Innistrad she becomes known as the Keening Mother, and of course mother is usually associated with she, her. But they are attracted to Innistrad by Nahiri, and a word on what Eldrazi are. And again, there is a whole lore section on this, but to cut a long story short, Eldrazi are entities that are definitely sentient and that seem to be, everybody's in agreement, incredibly intelligent, but of an intelligence that is completely alien to humans, but also to planeswalkers, but also to all other kinds of species that live in the multiverse. So they are very, very different. Also, they are very different in one other aspect, and that is that they don't reside and live on a plane, but they live in the void between the planes. And this relationship between the Eldrazi from between the planes and the planes themselves is illustrated by a parable which I have to say, sounds so Zen. It sounds so Japanese. You would find this in a Japanese story. The plane is the fish pond, and the Eldrazi is the man that stands beside it. The fish are the inhabitants of the plane, and once every so often the man puts his hand into the pond, and the fish only see the hand. They have no idea what this is. It comes from outside. It is from outside, yet it enters their own realm, and they think that there is this thing, and it's a hand. And they worship this hand, and they are afraid of this hand, and this hand manipulates them, it catches them, it takes them out. And they always think that the entity that they're dealing with is a hand-shaped entity. But of course that's not true. Also, this hand isn't sentient per se, but it is part of a sentient being called man, and they will never be able to behold this entity in its entirety, nor will they ever understand what motivations this entity may have, what drives it forward, because they only ever see the hand and its actions. And this is how an Eldrazi works, if you like. If you're trying to understand what Eldrazi do and how they operate, this is what you see. When you see an Eldrazi manifest, and Emrakul comes to Innistrad and she manifests, and this is what she looks like in her manifestation. This is not Emrakul per se. This is a manifestation of Emrakul on Innistrad. This is how she chooses to appear. And some say that she is the largest of all Eldrazi, and definitely the most fearsome of the 3 Eldrazi titans. And she causes silent horror wherever she soars, embodying desolation, emotional and physical distance, the chill of the void, and the terror of being alone. And I mean, it even says here, thus, in many ways, she's perfectly at home on Innistrad, because, of course, Innistrad has always been a place of desolation, of isolation, darkness. It's like Barovia, only in MTG. And basically, she does something to entities. She warps them. She, you know, like people become tentacled when they are affected by her. And of course, you may say, oh, what, tentacles? I know this. And yes, you do, because Tentacle Boy, as I like to call him, H.P. Lovecraft made a living out of creating tentacled horrors. And this is why we're going to look at Magic the Gathering Shadows over Innistrad today. So this is a booster pack display, and I bought it. And this is essentially a kind of nod to Shadow over Innsmouth, which is a very famous Lovecraftian story. Innistrad, you know, you see the likeness there as well, is a city or port city which was destroyed, and it is inhabited by fish-like people, by people who are bred of fish-like creatures. Off the coast of Innistrad, off the coast of Innsmouth, and after a while they turn fish-like, and then eventually they wander off into the sea, dive deep into the ocean, and meet their fish folk there. And it is a story of transformation, of physical transformation, of mental transformation, and of body horror, and of course, this is what Imrakul also does. She warps people's bodies, she warps people's minds, she warps all the living things, including plants on Innistrad, and turns them into monstrosities. And this, of course, is something that you can express really, really well in cards, because on the one hand you have the art, but on the other you also have the mechanics of change. And of course, we also see this in the most recent version of Innistrad, but also in the very first one, where you have the double-sided cards which deal with transformation, a transformation from a human into a werewolf, from a human into a ghost spirit. So this idea of transformation has always been present in Innistrad, and again, since she warps things and transforms them, again, this is the ideal backdrop for her. So we will crack open this and we will take a look at, I believe it's 36 booster packs, we will see. And if you're wondering, didn't she do this before? It was actually the fat pack, but that was, no it wasn't, it was, yeah, I think it was the fat pack, no, it was the deck builders toolkit, and that only had very few Innistrad cards in it, although it had the same guy on the, and I believe this is probably Jace, because I believe it is Jace who actually manages to make a mental connection to Emrakul and talk to her. So here we are. Okay, so it's a 15 card booster pack, and we have a werewolf, and this is probably Avacyn. Avacyn going crazy, of course. You know, she is no longer the, and of course, you know, something happens to her because she cannot actually stay the way she is, because she is killing people, she is killing humans, she's no longer protecting them. And then there's a showdown between her and Soren, who essentially made her, and he said, well, you know, I can help you, you have to stop. And she basically says to him, if I'm not the daughter that you wanted, you might just as well kill me. And he proceeds to unmake her. And since part of his essence had been poured into her when he made her, it is generally believed that with the unmaking of Avacyn, a part of him was also destroyed. And apparently the last thought that she had before she was dissolved into nothingness was, I am Avacyn, I am here to protect. So in her literally last moment, she lost her madness and realized what and who she was. So I guess there's a light there. Actually, I think the story of Avacyn is incredibly tragic, and I really like it. But yeah. So that's why we will also start with a package of Avacyn. I have no idea what cards will be in here. and we will see what we will see. And of course, this is again a pack that can't be opened because it decides it won't be opened. And we're gonna zoom in. It's a vessel of malignity. It's a 1 and 1 black enchantment. Sacrifice the vessel of malignity. Target opponent exiles 2 cards from his or her hand. Activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery. From within its prison, the book endlessly whispers words of cruelty and spite. Okay, so you manipulate somebody else's graveyard. That's a very black thing to do. Inquisitor's Ox, white and 1 white. Delirium. Inquisitor. Okay, so that's a very Emrakul-like idea to have delirium. We will have to see what this does. Inquisitor's Ox gets +1/+0 and has vigilance as long as there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard. Now, type being creature, sorcery, etc. Many fields now lie fallow in Gavany, as the oxen have been confiscated to perform other duties. 2 and 5. Pieces of the puzzle, sorcery. Reveal 2 and 1 blue. Reveal the top 5 cards of your library. Put up to 2 instant and or sorcery cards from among them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. Very nice card draw. And we can see here the cryptolith in lithic, or cryptolith actually. I'm gonna show it to you when I see it, but this is one in the background and this is probably one as well. The clues have begun to reveal the truth I hesitate to accept. So 5 cards and then you get up to 2 into your hand. Yeah. Dead weight. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets -2/-2. That's a very good card and it only costs 1 black. Dungeons and cages offer far too little sport. Relio Voldaren. Expose evil. Tap up to 2 target creatures. Investigate. Put a colorless clue artifact token onto the battlefield with 2. Sacrifice this artifact, draw a card. Only the pure stand tall in the light. And here again you see those cryptoliths. Sigada. Rabbit bite. Okay, so that's what happens when a human being bites a werewolf. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. You should have seen the look on both their faces. Moorcamp, Lambhold, Innkeeper. Well, I can imagine. Red. Hulking devil. Enough said. Creature, devil. Fear the patient devil, the one who is calm in the midst of chaos. Beware the silent devil, the one whose cackle does not mingle with the others. 5/2 for 3 and 1 red. That's actually a really good card. 5/2 for 3 and 1. Moldgraph Scavenger. It's a fungus. My partner in crime loves fungi. When we were in Japan, she was constantly taking pictures of fungi, so she really needs to get this card. Delirium. Moldgraph Scavenger gets +3/+0 as long as there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard. When I was a child, we worried about picking the wrong mushrooms for the cookpot. Now we must worry about being picked ourselves, because this is now, of course, a fungus that is so huge that it will actually, I mean, it's been morphed by the influence of Emrakul. So now this is a man-eating, and it's like a thalid in a way, because they also are man-eaters. And it's a 0/4. And we have to check what delirium means. Green goes over there. Structural distortion. Exile target artifact or land. Structural distortion deals 2 damage to that permanent's controller. Very nice card. As Zendikar has bled, so will Innistrad. As I have wept, so will Sorin. Okay, yeah, Nahiri is a planeswalker who decides to, or is the planeswalker who decides to bring Emrakul to Innistrad because she has beef with Sorin. One colorless artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. When equipped creature transforms, transform neglected heirloom. So it's a transformation card. There is a rich history in a blade like this. And it turns into the Ashmouth blade. Equipped creature gets +3/+3 and has fast strike. Equip 3. Its previous owners had some stories to share, I'm certain. So basically, this would only work on cards that you can transform, otherwise this would never transform. Drunau Corpse Trawler for 3 and blue. When Drunau Corpse Trawler enters the battlefield, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. Target zombie gains, for 2 and 1 black, target zombie gains death touch until the end of turn. I always wanted to build a blue-black deck, so this would be fitting in there nicely. Sea grafts yield an abundance of resources for stitchers and ghoul callers alike. Bound by Moonsilver. So this guy's in the stocks. 2 and 1. And this is also an uncommon card. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature can't attack, block, or transform. Sacrifice another permanent. Attach Bound by Moonsilver to target creature. Activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery and only once each turn. A Graph Mole. So this has now also been turned into a monstrosity. Whenever you sacrifice a clue, you gain 3 life. Their keen sense of smell draws them to the unnatural. To find one is a boon. Vecker Hinterland Inspector. Drown Yard Temple. It's a land. And here you can see the cryptoliths. These that look a little bit like a heron. You can tap this to add 1 non-color to your mana pool. Return Drownyard Temple from your graveyard to the battlefield for 3. This is it. All the cryptoliths point here. Jace Beleren. And this is a clue. Sacrifice this artifact and draw a card. Drownyard Explorers. She looks a little bit like Princess Leia with the buns. When Drownyard Explorers enters the battlefield, investigate. You put a colorless clue artifact token onto the battlefield with the text on it. 2, sacrifice this artifact, draw a card. For 3 and 1 blue, angels and inquisitors terrorize villages, but no one seems to notice the stirring out at sea. Sanitarium skeleton. I love the art. On camera, it seems like there's purple here, but you don't see it when you look at it. 1 black. It's a skeleton that you cast for 2 and 1 black. It's a 1/2 for 2 and 1 black. Return Sanitarium skeleton from your graveyard to your hand. His mind was lost long before his flesh. Chaplain's Blessing. You gain 5 life. It's a sorcery for 1 white. I mean, that's like... There was a time when the purpose of the church was to heal and to protect. I would see that time return. Niblis of Dusk. That's a beautiful card. It's a creature. It's a spirit. It has flying and prowess. So whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 until the end of turn. It fuels its lanterns by leeching the warmth from its surroundings. And this is again like, this is so Barovia, this is so Innistrad. I mean, you walk through the forest and this is what you see. I mean, we were playing a Murder of Crows last night and they are walking through this forest and they're assaulted by Will of the Wisps. So this is essentially the like the Innistrad version of a will-o'-the-wisps. Rancid rats. Okay, so these are zombie rats. They skulk. This creature can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. Okay, that's interesting. 1 and 1 black. Death touch. And any amount of damage this deals to a creature is enough to destroy it. They're in the walls. Can't you hear them? Now there is, of course, the Rats in the Walls story by Lovecraft, and this is of course a reference to it. Having said this, I dislike Lovecraft. I think he's totally overhyped. Shard of Broken Glass. Equipped creature gets +1/+0. Whenever equipped creature attacks, you may put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. You may equip one. You can only equip it as a sorcery. It gets +1/+0. Yeah, that's a very kind of like also, on the one hand, you could say, okay, so this is a church window and this is probably a singing angel. So you would see, in my opinion, this kind of harkens back to this is kind of a spiritual weapon on the one hand, but also a physical weapon because a shard of glass can do a lot of damage. Oh no, sorry, this is a land and it should go on the land pile. What am I doing? So here we are. Okay. Blood Mad Vampire. Vampire Berserker for 2 red. It's a 4/1. Whenever Blood Mad Vampire deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on it, which stays. Madness 1 and 1 red. If you discard it into exile. When you do, cast it for its madness cost or put it into your graveyard. Stoic Builder. A human. When Stoic Builder enters the battlefield, you may return target land card from your graveyard to your hand. Some have returned to Hollowhenge, the ruins of Averbrook, to restore the lost capital of Keswick. Straightforward card. Gatstaff Arsonist. At the beginning of each upkeep, if no spells were cast last turn, transform Gatstaff Arsonists. Human Werewolf. The glow in their eyes reveals more than anger or madness, and it's a 4 red. And you get the Gatstaff Ravagers. They have menace. This creature can't be blocked except by 2 or more creatures. At the beginning of each upkeep, if a player casts 2 or more spells last turn, transform Gatstaff Ravagers. Westvale Abbey. A player or you. If no spells were cast last turn. Okay, so basically even if your opponent didn't cast anything, you would transform. Westvale Abbey, beautiful card. Land, add 1 colorless to your mana pool for 5 and tapping and pay 1 life. Put a 1/1 white and black human cleric creature token onto the battlefield for 5 and, oh god, and tapping and sacrificing 5 creatures. Transform Westvale Abbey, then untap it, and it becomes Ormendal, Profane Prince. Okay! Flying, lifelink, indestructible, haste. With Grizzlebrand gone, the Skurse Dark eagerly awaited another demon to claim their devotion. Ormendal did not make them wait long. And it's a 9/7. Wow. Yeah, and it's an uncommon. It's a rare. Okay, well, I get why you have to sacrifice 5 creatures and pay 5 mana to make this happen, because you get a 9/7 flying lifelink, indestructible haste. The only thing that's missing here is Death Touch. That's a very interesting land. Call the Bloodline. Call the Helpline. Enchantment. Uncommon. Discard a card. Put a 1/1 black vampire knight creature token with lifelink onto the battlefield. Activate this ability only once each turn. Creature token with lifelink. I love this. At Sorin's appeal, Olivia Voldaren summoned the full might of her bloodline to gather at Lurenbraum Fortress. Okay, so Lightning Axe. As an additional cost to cast Lightning Axe, discard a card or pay 5. Lightning Axe deals 5 damage to target creature. I like this card. Spirits disturbed by ghoul callers become geists driven by restless anger. Runaway carriage. Ghostly horses. It's a construct artifact creature. Trample. When runaway carriage attacks or blocks, sacrifice it at the end of combat. They left in one piece. I can't speak to how they arrived. Rupirk. Porter at the Rusted Anchor Inn. And it's a 5/6 for 4. It's a very good card. Inexorable Blob. That's an ooze. That's also very, very Lovecraftian to have an ooze. Delirium. Whenever inexorable blob attacks, if there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, put a 3/3 green ooze creature token onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. Okay. And then we have a wolf token. And we open our first wolf pack. Wolf pack. Go on. I'll have to get scissors. So while I was getting my scissors, I also got myself a coffee, because life without coffee is possible, but completely meaningless. So, Militant Inquisitor for 2 and 1 white. Militant Inquisitor gets +1/+0 for each equipment you control. I'm an instrument of the church, wielded against Avacyn's enemies. Stitched Mangler. Creature zombie horror. Stitched Mangler enters the battlefield tapped. When Stitched Mangler enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls. That creature doesn't untap until its controller's next untap step. Stromkirk Mentor. A vampire soldier for 3 and 1 black. When it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on another target vampire you control. We like this card. The lineage of Runo Stromkirk is known for producing some of Nephalia's greatest fencing masters. 4/2, and he has a swagger. Thraben Inspector. And again, when we think of the, here you can see that she is looking at something that is kind of like tentacly and purplish. So this is definitely something that has been caused by Emrakul's influence. And when the inspector enters the battlefield, investigate. Put a colorless clue artifact token on the battlefield with 2, sacrifice this artifact, draw a card. If you've been at this as long as I have, nothing can surprise you. That's the hope, at least. Lamplighter of Selhoff, 4 and 1 blue. When Lamplighter of Selhoff enters the battlefield, if you control another zombie, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. For Stitchers and Necro-Alchemists, it's important that work can continue at all hours. Dual Shot. Instant, so she's got like a... so she's got 2 hand... I was going to say guns, but of course they're crossbows. Dual Shot deals 1 damage to each of up to 2 target creatures. There is an eagerness among the quiver of Kessig to prove they are the equal of the other Cathar orders. Confront the unknown. Investigate. Then target creature gets +1/+1 until the end of turn for each clue you control. Never flinch from the truth. Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. Howlpack Wolf. That's a weird wolf. That's like one that is definitely, even this one looks kind of weird from its proportions. Howlpack Wolf can't block unless you control another wolf or werewolf. Wolves or werewolves and werewolves join together for the common cause of the hunt. Equestrian Skill. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +3/+3. As long as enchanted creature is a human, it has trample. From the jagged peaks of Stensia to the tangled woods of Kessig or to the bogs of Nephalia, the Gavany riders prepare for all terrains. They're like an SUV. Duskwatch Recruiter is a human warrior werewolf. Look at the top, for 2 and 1 green, look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest at the bottom of your library in any order. At the beginning of each upkeep, if no spells were cast last turn, transform Duskwatch Recruiter, and he turns from a 2/2 into a Krallenhorde Howler. Creature werewolf, it's also an uncommon card. For 3/3 creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. At the beginning of each upkeep, if a player has 2 or more spells cast last turn, transform Krallenhorde Howler back. Compelling Deterrence. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Then that player discards a card if you control a zombie. So much for neighborly hospitality. Griff's Boon. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+0 and has flying. Return Griff's Boon from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to target creature. Activate this ability only at any time you could cast a sorcery. Pack Guardian, Wolf Spirit. Flash. You may cast a spell at any time you would cast an instant. 2 and 2 green. When Pack Guardian enters the battlefield, you may discard a land card. If you do, put a 2/2 green wolf creature token onto the battlefield with 4/3. Mark of Dreadnought. Flying. 3 and 2 black. Rare. For 2 and 1 black, discard a card. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on Mark of Dreadnought. The destruction of Mark of Manor made the surviving members of the bloodline more dangerous. For 3/3. A basic land, and we have an emblem, Arlen. Creatures you control have haste, and this creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature or player. I still don't understand when emblems are actually played, so if you know, leave a comment. We'll put this to the side. A really evil looking vampire. Twins of the Mara Estate. Creature, vampire. I mean, when we were playing Vampire the Masquerade, we had one big no-no, and we said no child vampires. They are the creepiest. Madness 2 and 1 black. If you discard this card, discard it into exile. When you do, cast it for its madness cost or put it into your hand. Children, where are your parents? Raig, Wandering Monk, Last Words. For 4 and 1 black, and it's 3/5. It's like if you've seen Near Dark by Catherine Bigelow, they also have a child vampire there, and he's of course in the body of a child, and although he has some preternatural strength to him, he's not strong enough to actually overcome an adult male, so, or even an adult female. So what he does is he's got a bike, and then he puts himself outside on the road next to his bike so that it looks like he's been hit by a car. And so he attracts people, and they kneel down, they bend over him, and then he just attacks them because he doesn't have the bodily strength to just go hunting like the rest. So he uses cunning. Strength of Arms, instant. Target creature gets +2/+2 until the end of turn. If you control an equipment, put a 1/1 white human soldier creature token onto the battlefield. We fight not for Avacyn, but for her ideals. Not for the church, but for its people. Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. And I mean, don't you want to just... And again, this card looks a lot more purplish in the hair and in the Avacynian symbol on camera than it does in real life. That's interesting. This is the kind of, like you could build I could build a whole plot for a one-shot around this image. This is how evocative this is to me. Deny existence. Counter target creature spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. When all logical solutions fail, try an illogical one. Hound of the Farbogs, or Farbogs. For 4 and 1, it's a zombie hound. Delirium. Hound of the Farbogs has menace as long as there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard. A creature with menace can't be blocked, except by 2 or more creatures. As you hear its baying in the distance, you'll feel its breath on your neck. 5/3. Unruly Mob, we've seen this one plenty of times because I think they've reprinted it. Whenever another creature you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Unruly Mob. Those who are welcome will know it. No, sorry, those who aren't welcome will know it. Coleman, Elder of Gatstaff. Well, I guess the people who are welcome will also know for 1/1. Oh, hello there. Insolent Neonate. This is just so Toreador. For 1 red, menace, this creature can't be blocked except by 2 or more creatures. Discard a card, sacrifice Insolent Neonate, draw a card. Manners are for mortals. 1/1. Explosive Apparatus. For 1. Artifact. Sacrifice Explosive Apparatus. Explosive Apparatus deals 2 damage to target creature or player. Oh, we like this one. Souls are volatile things. When compressed and loaded into a handheld device, their destructive potential is quite impressive. Dirk, Geistmage. Thornhide Wolves. Oh, wolfies. 4 and 1 green for 4/5. Halana grew brambles to create a barricade around her camp, hoping that it would keep the wolves out. That was a mistake, for which we almost paid dearly. Alina, Trapper of Kessig. Senseless Rage. Enchantment Aura. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2. Madness. 1 red. If you discard this card, discard it into exile. When you do, cast it for its madness cost or put it into your graveyard. Okay. For 1 and 1 red, 2/2. Pious Evangel. He's a human cleric. He looks very pious indeed. He clutches the symbol of Avacyn. Whenever Pious Evangel or another creature enters your battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. Sacrifice another permanent. Transform Pious Evangel. My faith guides my hand. 2/2. And for 2 and tapping and sacrificing another permanent, you get the Wayward Disciple. And in the back you can see again these madness instilling cryptoliths. Whenever Wayward Disciple or another creature you control dies, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. And I will prove my devotion. 2/4. Morkrut Necropod. It's a slug horror. Menace. Whenever Morkrut Necropod attacks or blocks, sacrifice another creature or land. 5 and 1 black for 7/7. There's not enough salt in all of Nephalia to wither that thing. Ghoulcaller Enslow. But he does 7/7, so, you know, this is like your last-ditch effort to get rid of something really, really dangerous and big, but you also have to sacrifice something for it. Makes sense. Inner Struggle. Instant. Target creature deals damage to itself equal to its power. What? Oh, yeah. Basically, you force somebody to... Inner Struggle. I get it. Reflect upon your evils, lest they reflect upon you. Inquisitor Lyrin. Forsaken Sanctuary. Forsaken Sanctuary enters the battlefield tapped. Add 1 white or 1 black to your mana pool. Prayers will curdle on the tongue and be heard by rotting ears. Minaldra, the Visig Autumn. The Visig a tomb. Okay. Diagraph Colossus for 2 and 1 black. It's a rare card, a zombie giant. Diagraph Colossus enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it for each zombie card in your graveyard. Whenever you cast a zombie spell, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield tapped. And if I'm going to build my, it looks like my black, mono black commander deck is coming along nicely, but it will probably also contain zombies. Although I'm not a zombie fan, I really dislike zombies in real life as well as in unreal life, but yeah, it has to be done. Token creature, spirit, flying, beautiful creature, beautiful spirit. And we have Mr. I wonder who this is. It's not Zorin. I've seen him before. I know your face. Okay. And this is Jace. And he apparently spoke to Emrakul. So it seems like Jace made some kind of mental connection with Emrakul and was able to perceive and behold her thoughts for just a second. And I assume that it's from him that we know that they are highly intelligent, but that we cannot actually understand them at all. We've got another Nibelus of the Dusk. A Vessel of Malignity. Another one of those. Vessel of Ephemera. This is a new vessel. It's a white one. It's a 1 white. It's an enchantment, and you can pay 2 and 1 white to sacrifice it. Put 2 1/1 spirit creature tokens with flying onto the battlefield. Geist seeking redemption must first be given the opportunity. So essentially you pay 3 and 2 white and sacrifice this thing to put in 2 white, 2 1/1 white spirit creature tokens onto the battlefield. I don't know if that's worth it. Nagging Thought. Look at the top 2 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand and the other into your graveyard. Madness, 1 and 1 blue. If you discard this card, discard it and into exile, and then you can replay it for your madness cost. Macabre Waltz. Liliana waltzing with a dead guy. Return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand, then discard a card. Liliana is never one to follow someone else's lead. I bet. Clipwings. This is such a terrible image, isn't it? 1 and 1 green instant. Each opponent sacrifices a creature with flying. We like this card. It's a grim duty to save the world from those created to protect it. Yeah, this is one of the angels that went crazy when Avacyn was lost to madness, and basically they were supposed to protect the world. And now humans have to turn on their protectors and take them out. That's terrible. I mean, I love this card. Tormenting Voice. I love the visuals of this kind of like, you know, you only see a part of the corridor and she's basically kneeling down and running away and, you know, like almost crawling away from whatever voice she's hearing. It's 1 and 1 red. As an additional cost to cast Tormenting Voice, discard a card, draw 2 cards. The voice has grown louder. Its accusations angrier and more insistent. By morning, it will likely drown out all else. I fear what I will do. Letter discovered in an abandoned estate. Fork in the Road. For 1 and 1 green, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards and reveal them. Put 1 into your hand and the other into your graveyard. Then shuffle your library. This is as far as I go. Bekram, Skidfold Escort. If you play a mono green commander, this is a good card. Otherwise, you are actually putting away 1 permanent land. And yeah. Magmatic Chasm. Creatures without flying can't block this turn for 1 and 1 red. The Needle Eye, a seldom used passage that winds through Stensia's mountains, carries travelers close to Ashmouth. Too close, some would argue. Convicted Killer, human werewolf. At the beginning of each upkeep, if no spells were cast last turn, transform Convicted Killer. None are more dangerous than those who have already been sentenced to death. That's true, 2/2. And then it turns into a branded Howler. At the beginning of each upkeep, if a player casts 2 or more spells last turn, transform Branded Howler 4/4. It is said that one of the most notorious werewolf howl packs, the Vildine, only calls those whose hands are already stained with blood. Rise from the Tides. Put a 2/2 black zombie creature onto the battlefield. Tap for each instant or sorcery card in your graveyard. Okay, that's why it's 5/1. Dear brother, it's sweet that you have chosen to share your toys with Ludovic, but I too have found some new playmates. Ghoul Caller Gisa. Toppelgeist. Creature, spirit, 1 white. Flying. When Toppelgeist enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls. Delirium. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, if there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, tap target creature that player controls. Obsessive Skinner. When Obsessive Skinner enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on the target creature. Delirium. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, if there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. 1/1. He obsessively skins things. Everybody needs a hobby, I guess. Invocation of Centraft. Rare. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature has, whenever this creature attacks, put a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. Exile that token at the end of combat. That's a multicolor. It's our first multicolor card, blue and white. We've got a clue. Oh, this is an interesting clue. It's part of an Avacyn stained glass window. Sacrifice this artifact, draw a card. Consider this. The shepherd turns on her flock. Why? Tamio's journal. I really like this clue card. Okay, this is a land where we can see the cryptoliths. You can sacrifice it, you search your library for a basic land card and put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle your library. Each cryptolith twists the plane's mana, bending its flow to a singular purpose. Yeah, this is, I think, one thing that I forgot to mention. The Eldrazi eat mana, apparently. At least this Inquisitor's Ox, we've seen this before. So this is our 3rd double card. Pieces of the Puzzle, we've seen this before. 4th double card. Merciless Resolve, 2 and 1 black, instant. As an additional cost to cast Merciless Resolve, sacrifice a creature or land, draw 2 cards. You sought to anger me, Nahiri. Soon you will see how well you have succeeded. Inspiring Captain, Human Knight, for 3 and 1, 3/3. When Inspiring Captain enters the battlefield, creatures you control get +1/+1 until the end of turn. Wow, that's an inspiration. Our enemies will soon discover that we are not as meek as they have believed. I'm building a black and white commander deck, and this would definitely go in there. Kessig Dire Swine. 2 green. It's a boar horror. Kessig Dire Swine has trample as long as there are 4 or more card types amongst you or cards in your graveyard. In the quiet of the somber wold, new horrors stir. 6. Oh wow! It's got 6/6 and it's got trample. Oh wow! If you fulfill the requirements, but yeah. Ember Eye Wolf. It's got haste and it gets +2/+0 until the end of turn. No howl, no snarl, just the roar of flames. And another Shard of Broken Glass. We've seen this before. skin invasion. Skin invasion. Yeah, this is... Enchanted creature attacks each combat if able. When enchanted creature dies, return skin invasion to the battlefield transformed under your control. Okay? And it turns into a skin shedder. Creature, insect horror, ugh. Patient complained of burning sensation in upper back and at base of neck. Best bed rest recommended. In a couple of days, he should feel like a new man. Lagra, Hamlet physician. You were so right. Elusive Tormentor. Vampire Wizard. It's a rare card. For 2 and 2 black. Discard a card, transform Elusive Tormentor. Older vampires are usually more cautious than the newly sired, calling upon ancient magic for which neonates lack patience. It's a 4/4, and when you transform it, it becomes Insidious Mist. It's hexproof. It's an elemental. It's hexproof, indestructible, and it can't block and can't be blocked. Whenever Insidious Mist attacks and isn't blocked, well, it can't be blocked, you may pay 2 and 2 black if you do transform it. Okay, so essentially it can't be blocked. Then I pay 2 and 1 black, and then I transform it, and it attacks as a 4/4. And also then this isn't blocked, because it's an auto hit. Okay, that's interesting. Behind the scenes, it's an enchantment. Creatures you control have skulk. They can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. Creature you control gets +1/+1 until the end of turn for 4 and 1 white. It does no good to bar the gate when the enemy is already inside. Ravenous Bloodseeker. Creature, Vampire Berserker. Discard a card. Ravenous Bloodseeker gets +2/-2 until the end of turn. Nothing will cool the fire in their blood. They are too far gone. We must keep them away from our towns at any cost. Cost below of the Sylvan Guard. Skeleton Key. Equipped creature has skulk. It can't be blocked by a creature with greater power. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. Equip 2. Angel of Deliverance. Delirium. Whenever Angel of Deliverance deals damage, if there are 4 more card types among cards in your graveyard, exile target creature and opponent controls. 6/6 for 6 and 2. Okay. And we get another spirit token. Silberlin Snapper. Oh, it's a really giant turtle. Silberlin Snapper can't attack unless you have cast a non-creature spell this turn. 6/6, 5 and 1 blue. Nephalia is home to many hard-shelled creatures of unusual size, the largest of which are either avoided or worshipped. Totally get that. Rotten Heart Ghoul. It's a zombie. When Rotten Heart Ghoul dies, target player discards a card. To die, failing to save a loved one is just so sad. Or more to the point, pathetic. Liliana Vess, 2/4. Survive the night. Instant. Target creature gets +1/+0 and gains indestructible until the end of turn. Damage and effects that say destroyed, don't destroy it. Investigate. Put a colorless clue artifact token onto the battlefield, and the longest nights are measured not in hours, but in heartbeats. That's true. For 2 and 1, Furtive Homunculus. Furtively looking around the gravestone. Skulk. This creature can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. In terms of intelligence, homunculi are somewhere between humans and scabs. Clever enough to follow more complex orders, but dim enough to not question them. So it means they can't be blocked. So they would go through and okay, I get it. Grotesque mutation, instant. Target creature gets +3/+1 and gains lifelink until the end of turn. Damage dealt by the creature alone also causes its controller to gain that much life. Okay. And here you see, like, it's a mutation caused by Watcher in the web. It's a spider. It's got reach, of course. Watcher in the web can block an additional 7 creatures each combat. Whoa! Lost in the woods is an optimistic way to describe a villager's disappearance. Found in the woods is frequently more appropriate. Wow. It can block an additional 7 creatures each combat. Wow. Okay. Senseless Rage. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2, madness 1. Okay, it's a 1 red. Root out. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Investigate. Do I even want to know what this is? I don't want to know. Heir of Falconwrath, a vampire. For 1 and 1 black, discard a card, transform Heir of Falconwrath, activate this ability only once each turn. She's a 2/1. Among vampires, there has long been the belief that the urge to feed must be balanced by the poise of nobility. And she turns into the heir to the night, and she's a creature, vampire, berserker, 3/2, flying. When Falconwrath have relinquished all pretense at nobility, losing themselves completely to their all-consuming thirst. So this is what they were, and this is what they have become. Oh. Broken concentration, counter target spell. Okay, some minds bend under pressure and others break. Humble the Brute. Destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. Investigate. The element of surprise only works when it's backed up by a bolt between the eyes. This actually reminds me of what's that Soul-like that I've been playing? Bloodborne. This Vista totally reminds me of Bloodborne. Moonlight Hunt. Instant, choose target creature you don't control. Each creature you control that's a wolf or werewolf deals damage equal to its power to that creature. Courage alone won't keep you alive. That's a very powerful card for 1 and 1 green. Okay, Scourge Wolf, Wolf Horror, 2 red. Rare, first strike, Delirium. Scourge Wolf has double strike as long as there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard. Okay, and we get our first foil card, Triskaidekaphobia. Now, in Midnight Hunt, you've got the Triskaidekaphile, which is somebody who loves the number 13, and Triskaidekaphobia is the fear of the number 13. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose 1. Each player with exactly 13 life loses the game, then each player gains 1 life. Each player with exactly 13 life loses the game, then each player loses 1 life. Okay, that's a very weird card, which is very... that is very situational. Because you have to do this every time, so you might kill yourself with this. So And we've got another clue in a different one as well. It's a sign of Avacyn. The symbols. When did they change? Tamia's journal. Emissary of the Sleepless. It's a spirit for 4 and 1 white. When Emissary of the, and it's got flying. When Emissary of the Sleepless enters the battlefield, if a creature died this turn, put a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying onto the battlefield. Okay. Jace's Scrutiny. Target creature gets -4/-0 until the end of turn. Investigate. Just a collage of images. Cryptoliths. The sea. A tangle of shipwrecks. Stallion of Ashmouth for 3 and 1 black. Delirium. 1 and 1 black. Stallion of Ashmouth gets +1/+1 until the end of turn. Activate this ability only if there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard. Echoing hoofbeats can no longer be assumed to be help from Gavany riders. 3/3. Inspiring Captain again. Gone missing. Gone fishing. Well, put target permanent on top of its owner's library. Investigate. Put a colorless clue artifact. Sometimes it's best for the lost to stay lost. Herzog, Mayor of Havengul. Put a target permanent on top of its owner's library. For 4 and 1 blue. Well, if it were an instant, then yes, but for a sorcery, not sure. Sanguinary Mage, Vampire Wizard Prowess. New cults rising in Nephalia have found allies in the Stromkirk bloodline, whose progenitor worships ancient and terrible forces. Vessel of Nascency. Sacrifice Vessel of Nascency. Reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You may put an artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker card from among them into your hand. Put the rest into your graveyard. Okay. Tormenting Voice. As an additional cost to cast Tormenting Voice, we've seen this before. Shard of Broken Glass as well. Solitary Hunter. At the beginning of each, at the Human Warrior Werewolf, okay. At the beginning of each upkeep, if no spells were cast, transform. Making a living in Kessig is hard, but I've learned some tricks of the trade. For 3 and 1 green, you get a 3/4 creature which you can transform and turn into one of the pack. It's a 5/6 werewolf. When the howl beckons, he cannot resist the urge to join the others. Stitching Scarp. Zombie Horror. Flying. That one looks like a gargoyle or a devil. Very nice. Amazing, isn't it? How scraps can come together to create such a wonder. Stitcher Geralf. Spiteful Motives. No, Spiteful Motives. Enchantment. Aura. Flash. You may cast a spell anytime you could cast an instant. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +3/+0 and has first strike. Having infiltrated the Lunar Council, the Skillstark await the perfect moment to strike. Haunted Cloak. Equipped creature has vigilance, trample, and haste. Okay. Bear the weight of so many spirits and you'll surrender civility and restraint to savagery and instinct. To the slaughter. Oh, the little lamb. Target player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker for 2 and 1. That's actually very cheap. Delirium. If there are 4 or more card types amongst cards in your graveyard, instead that player sacrifices a creature and a planeswalker. Where has little Gossamer gone? Thaniel, Gatstaff Shepherd. That breaks my heart. I don't know. I mean, it's such a good card, but I feel bad playing it. And here is a clue, and this is a real clue. This is a cryptolith. For every answer, 3 questions. Tamia's journal. So the clue tokens are really thematic and nice in this one. They are, and they're also quite varied. Next one. We won't be doing all 36. Murderous compulsion. Destroy target tapped creature. It's a sorcery. Madness. Thank you. This blade becomes so hot in my hand, but your blood has quenched it. Cathar's companion. It's a hound. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Cathar's companion gains indestructible until the end of turn. Unwavering and loyal, they represent stability in uncertain times. Ren Carolus, Slayer of Angels. Vessel of Paramnesia. For 1 and 1 blue, you can sacrifice it, and the target player puts the top 3 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. You draw a card. Write everything down. Trust me. Valen, Thraben Inspector. Arms of the Vein. For 2 and 1 black, it's a sorcery. Target opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. I like this. Puncturing Light. Destroy target attacking or blocking creature with power 3 or less. If you refuse to see the light, then you will feel it. Loam Dryad. Dryad Horror. Tap an untapped creature you control. Add 1 mana of any color to mana pool. I've never known dryads to suffer visitors in their woods. Beware the elven world when she welcomes you. Alina, Trapper of Keswick. Okay. Hulking Devil, we've seen him before. Quilled Wolf. I have seen this card before. Yeah. I know a ranger that thought to make a cloak of its hide. He ended up losing an eye for his trouble. Yep. Rush of Adrenaline. It's an instant. The target creature gets 2/2/1 and gains trample until the end of turn. Scream Scarecrows only go so far in sending the messages to stay away. Keswick Forgemaster. Creature, human, shaman, werewolf. Uncommon. Whenever Keswick Forgemaster blocks or becomes blocked by a creature, Keswick Forgemaster deals 1 damage to that creature. Okay. Okay, that's good. So he's an insta 1 damage person. At the beginning of each upkeep, if no spells were cast, you transform him and he turns into the Flameheart Werewolf. Whenever Flameheart Werewolf blocks or becomes blocked by a creature, Flameheart Werewolf deals 2 damage to that creature. Okay, so then if you block him, he would be doing 5 damage. Hope against hope. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1. As long as enchanted creature is human, it has first strike. I have given my life to the church, my soul to Avacyn, and my heart to the people. Compelling Deterrent. Deterrence. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Then that player discards a card if you control a zombie. So much for neighborly hospitality. We've seen this card before. Gloom Widow. It's a spider. It can block only creatures with flying. An unexpected ally, Slayer of Angels, Rem Carolus. Of course. Behold the Beyond. Sorcery. Discard your hand. Search your library for 3 cards. Put those cards into your hand. Then shuffle your library. There is power in the abyss, in the blackness, more profound than the darkest dreams. That's a mythic rare. Okay. For 5 and 2 black, I can discard my whole hand. Okay, this is something, if you don't have a hand, then you would play this. Makes sense. And Spirit. Third of Homunculus, we've seen this. Dead Weight, we've seen this. Expose Evil, Lamplight of Selhoff, Hound of Farbox, Might Beyond Reason. Put a +1/+1 counter, put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature. It's an instant, and it actually stays. It doesn't say until the end of turn. Put 3 if there is delirium happening. Wicker Witch. It's a scarecrow. I hate them. When there were no more crows to scare, it focused its efforts elsewhere. I like this text. Fiery temper. Let the flames ignore the sinless. Okay. Fiery temper deals 3 damage to target creature or player. For the 1 and 2 red. Thornhide Wolves, we've seen those before. Daring Sleuth. Human Rogue. When you sacrifice a clue, transform Daring Sleuth. No matter the cost, I must discover the source of these strange happenings. And he turns into the bearer of overwhelming truths. Human Wizard Prowess. Whenever bearer of overwhelming truths deals combat damage to a player, investigate. 3/2. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 until the end of turn. Tenacity. Creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain lifelink until the end of turn. Untap those creatures. Thalia established the Order of Saint Traft in an effort to bring together Cathars who would stand against the corruption of the Lunarch Council. Stensia Masquerade. Attacking creatures you control have first strike. Whenever a vampire you control deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Woodland Stream. Land. Woodland Stream enters the battlefield tapped. You can add a green or a blue. 2 creaking water wheels herald the approach to Briarbridge through Ulvenwald. Eerie Interlude. Exile any number of target creatures you control. Return those cards to the battlefield under the owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Exile any number of target creatures you control. The barrier between existence and oblivion is thinner. And you know, I really love the image. Okay. Oh, you control. Okay. So that is useful if I get control of an opponent's target creature, or of an opponent's creature, then I can exile them and then, yeah. And we've got a devil token. And next up we've got another Avacyn. We've got a Moorland Drifter. It's a creature spirit. Moorland Drifter has flying as long as there are 4 or more card types in your graveyard. 2/2. It has no apparent purpose or direction. It simply drifts, buoyed by breezes both tangible and otherworldly. Okay. Nagging Thoughts. Look at the top 2 cards of your library. We've seen this before. Throttle. Target creature gets -4/-4 until the end of turn. It's an instant. Victim discovered at dawn with mouth agape and eyes bulging. No evidence of blood loss or dismemberment. Severe bruising around the neck. Valen, Thraben Inspector. Ethereal Guidance. Creatures you control get +2/+1 until the end of turn. The call of the Blessed Sleep is not so strong as the call to protect those in need. Just the Wind. Return target creature to its owner's hand. There's nothing to worry about. It's just the wind. Insolent Neonate. I love this guy. Equestrian Skill. Enchantment Aura. We've seen this before. Byway Courier. We haven't seen this one before. Creature Human Scout. When Byway Courier dies, investigate. A good courier travels fast and asks no questions. Gatstaff Arsonist, we've seen him before. Green. Pale Rider of Trostad. That's a very interesting picture. It's a creature spirit, Skulk, which means it can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. When Pale Rider of Trostad enters the battlefield, discard a card. What's worse than being alone on the moors at night? Try not being alone. Nadila Mars, Moor Chieftain, Moor Chaplain. Trail of Evidence, Enchantment. And there you can see in the distance the cryptoliths. Every answer seems to lead to a more terrifying question. Jace Beleren. 2 and 1 blue. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, investigate. Ulvenwald Mysteries. 2 and 1 green. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, investigate. Whenever you sacrifice a clue, put a 1/1 white human soldier, creature soldier token onto the battlefield. Odric Lunarch Marshal. It's a rare. Human soldier, legendary creature, 3/1. At the beginning of each combat, creatures you control gain first strike until the end of turn if a creature you control has first strike. The same is true for flying, death type. Ooh! Oh wow, this is a very powerful card. Wow. And very cheap. We've got a forest, and there you can actually see the cryptolith, and we've got a basic land. Island. Are these? This one is foil, actually. It's very nice. And here we have a zombie token. Which brings us to the last pack. The Twins of the Mauder Estate, Thraben Inspector, Ghostly Wings. This is a new one. It's an enchantment aura. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has flying. Discard a card, return enchanted creature to its owner's hand. Rancid Rats, we've seen them before. Strength of Arms, we've seen her before. Uncaged Fury. Instant. Target creature gets +1/+1 and gains double strike until the end of turn. It deals both first strike and regular combat damage. It's right to fear those that you keep locked away. Rahilda, Vildin, Pack Alpha. Vessel of Nascency, Ember Eye Wolf, Town Gossipmonger. For 1 white, creature human. Tap an untapped creature you control, transform Town Gossipmonger. You'll never believe what I heard. And he turns into Incited Rabble. Creature human, 2/3. Incited Rabble attacks each combat if able. And if you pay 2, they get +1/+0. Rumors are sparks. Gather enough of them and something's going to catch fire. Ooh, Reaper of Flight Moonsilver. It's an angel. Look at that angel. It's 3/2. It's uncommon, flying. For 3/3, sacrifice another creature. Reaper of Flight Moonsilver gets +2/+1 until the end of turn. Activate this ability only if there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard. Ulrich's Kindred. Creature, wolf, trample. 3/2 for 2 and 1 red. For 3 and 1 green. Target attacking wolf or werewolf gains indestructible until the end of turn. I am not its master. We are of the same pack. Okay. Okay. Another scarecrow. I hate them. It's a defender, 1/4. It costs 3. Sacrifice Wildfield Scarecrow and pay 2. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Reveal them and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your library. That's a good card. From under the floorboards, 3 and 2 black, sorcery, madness. Put 3 2/2 black zombie creature tokens onto the battlefield tapped and you gain 3 life. If from under the floorboard madness cost was paid, instead put X of those tokens onto the battlefield tapped and you gain X life. So this is when you have lots of mana already, because you have to pay 3 and 2, and then immediately another X 2/2 2 black in order to make this happen. That's a good card for commander. Crawling Sensation, our next foil card, enchantment. For 2 and 1 green. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. Whenever 1 or more land cards are put into your graveyard from anywhere for the first time each turn, put a 1/1 green insect creature token onto the battlefield. And we've got another very gruesome clue. It's an angel feather and it's bloody. With angels came mysteries. Tamia's journal. I have to say, for me, this is the one that has the most interesting clue tokens in terms of what they represent and how they tell the story. I really love this. So I'm really liking this. So far, it's easy on the, ooh, this is gruesome transformation cards. But we will see how we fare. So these were the first 12. We've got 24 more, and we also have something else. If I can find it, it's actually quite big, it shouldn't be, because we also have Eldritch Moon, which is also part of the Emrakul cycle of Innistrad. And we will look at this, and this is where it gets really purple. Okay, talk to you soon. Bye.